Hey, business casual listeners. I've been using the Brio air purifier for a little under a month, and I'm highly impressed with the performance. It has drastically improved my indoor air quality, and its patent advanced particle removal technology is second to none. It's also incredibly convenient to use and maintain, making it an ideal choice for anyone looking to improve their home air quality. I've noticed a few cool things so far. You can feel the air becoming clean. It dries out the air a bit, so using this with a humidifier would be ideal for those who like to retain some moisture in the air. My ceiling fans, where I use Brio most often, has less dust buildup. Some need to know starter info. When I first plugged the Brio in and let it run, it had a strong plastic smell due to high heat injection molding residue. Wiping the Brio down with soap, water, and a microfiber cloth, then allowing it time to fully dry, helps significantly. A surprise use case I did not expect was when my wife was cooking and the salmon got away from her, and the smoke in the house started to fill the kitchen. I quickly grabbed a towel and began to fan the smoke from the smoke detector, not to wake up my sleeping 6-month baby. I realized this would be an excellent job for Brio. I grabbed it from the living room and plugged it into the kitchen, making the job of not setting the smoke detector off a breeze. In just 2 weeks, it helped my air quality and dust accumulation and helped stop my baby from waking up. Do you even have to ask? Yes, I recommend the Brio. As a special offer for my listeners, use code MILES, MYLES 15 to get 15% off the Brio. And let me know what you think about this incredible machine in the comments. Peace. All right. Welcome back to Business Casual. I'm your host, Miles Brown, and today we have a very special guest, Larry Rothenberg. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, it is. That's it.
And he is an inventor and business owner with Agentis Air. An air purifying technology that's been patented that is leagues above the HEPA filter. And today we'll have him explain to us exactly how he started, how he got into it, what led him down this journey, why it's important to him, and who he is.
Great.
Larry.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
No problem. So give me a little bit about your background. Where are you from? Where did you start?
So I grew up in Syracuse, New York, and I started out my professional career as a patent attorney. And I was, I practiced patent law for a short period of time, and then was lured away into trying to start a business. So I always kind of felt more like my clients than I did the attorney. So I got mostly into the software business. So that's kind of, and then was involved in a whole series of software startups.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
How did you like that? Was it a great departure from being in patent law?
Yeah, I enjoyed patent law. I like being a lawyer. I like being a patent lawyer, but I think it came down to the fact that I always like being part of the team. And when you're the lawyer, you're kind of outside the team, and you can be an important tool for the team to use to achieve their goals, but you're not part of the team. And I just really like being part of the team. There's just a sense of purpose, a sense of mission. There's just an energy to it that I really like. So
Definitely.
That's why. So I think it was the right decision for me.
I understand. When I think of law, I think of stacks of papers. I think of endless reading, trying to make sure that all the T's are crossed and the I's. But when you're a part of that energy of a startup, when you're in the room, like this type of startup that you have, I mean, I'm thinking of being in the lab for the first time and you get the results back that you've wiped the floor with the competition,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Being it is I mean, to be fair to attorneys, if you get to know your client and you kind of not necessarily like your client necessarily as a person, but appreciate what they're trying to achieve, you can get some pretty big thrills out of helping your client achieve a goal.
Right.
Right. So it's not really as cold and calculating and dispassionate as some people might think
it. Yeah.
But it definitely is not the same. You know, it's definitely a big leap to being part of that team. And as you said, when you see a result, you just feel that sense of accomplishment, and I really like that. I get a big kick out of that. Yeah.
So, what led you to this specific field?
Yeah. So I was working at another company, and actually the people who came up with this technology, the first ideas for this technology, they were actually a client of the firm when I practiced law way back when.
Wow.
And one day I got a call and said, remember those guys that we used to do their patent work? Well, they've come up with this new idea, and they're looking for someone to help them try and start a company. And I was kind of, you know, I had just about then I was looking for something new to do. So I went up, I met the engineers, and they were at the University of Washington at the time.
Okay.
And they had just kind of gotten the first results, and it was looking really promising. So, and then I was thinking of joining the team, and then the other big piece of the picture came in, which is there's some people here in DC that were thinking of making an investment and starting a company. So buying all the technology from the University of Washington and starting. So I met them, we got along real well, and so they started this company and brought me in to run it.
So that process, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear about an idea,
Yeah.
you see that it has good traction, what's the anchor piece that says it's time to jump on? Is it?
Yeah. So for me, so there really isn't any one thing. I mean, because it's never exactly the right time. Right? You're always on that fine line between being too early and then missing the opportunity. Right? So you're never quite sure. So for me, a lot of it has to do with whether the opportunity is right. Is it there to be done? Do you have the pieces in place? And it may not exactly be the right moment, it may be a little bit off, but you know, when it is the right moment, you may not have all the pieces there.
Right.
So if you've got the technology is available and you've got some investors who are interested, and in this case, I like the people. Right, the people who we all got along. We immediately had a rapport. So for me, that was really what it was about. You know, just feeling like the moment all the pieces come together, and then you say, okay,
time to move.
Yeah, time to move. Yeah.
So one of the things, like when you start businesses, I mean, it can be a make or break decision because a lot of people have their 9 to 5, they have the security piece. Is it important that somebody is, let's say, financially secure before they make a jump like this, or is it something where you have to know, you just have a feeling? Is it?
You know, that's a really difficult. That's probably one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult component, I'd say, of deciding when and if you should jump into an entrepreneurial venture, because it's not just for yourself. It's all the people that depend on you, and you know, the people that you have to inform about the risk, right? So a lot of times you may sugarcoat the opportunity for yourself, but then if you sugarcoat it for the other people involved in your decision and your family, that could come back to bite you.
Oh yeah.
So it's, everyone's got their own risk tolerance. Everyone's got their own you know, their own criteria for when they want to take a risk or not. Um, I just think it's important that everyone who is affected by it be aware of
Involved
what's
in
going
that
on.
decision.
And I have not always been on point on that. I've had some instances
Learning
myself
curve with that.
where I underinformed people, reading their wife. Who, there have been times when I've made decisions and not fully informed her, and then luckily the most significant ones turned out okay. But in retrospect, when we went back, she definitely said like, "Wow, that would have been pretty scary to know that, how much risk you were taking."
At that moment.
And so, over time, we kind of had to work that out, and so now it's full transparency. But that's a big thing because you can ruin relationships inadvertently that way.
Yeah, by not being fully transparent with just how risky this life decision is going to be.
Yeah.
I know even myself starting my business, leaving from something that's has a salary attached to it to now you eat what you kill. It can be shocking to the wife to say, this month wasn't just it wasn't as good as maybe the previous ones. And I know another thing that's sometimes hard to adjust, knowing that there's ebbs and flows in business.
That's right.
And the person who is the lead, he has to take the brunt of the ebb and the flow, because you want to keep your staff happy, which is maintaining their salaries at the best you can. I mean, obviously things happen, but have you ever in this journey had to deal with the ebbs?
Oh yeah. My first startup, I actually went into business with my father, and he was a professor who had an invention, and we started a company together, and we definitely jumped too early. So we had a couple of years in the beginning when I had left the job as a lawyer, a well-paid lawyer in a big firm, and we just kind of we had 2 or 3 really lean years, and there was a lot of ebbs, as you put it, but the upside of that was that my father and I trusted each other. We had a good sound relationship, so we kind of took the pain together, and we had good partners, right? So we had a really strong team, so we kind of all took risks together, and we got through it.
That's what's up. So in that particular startup, would you say it was a success at the end?
Or? Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We grew that company. We sold it to a big company. Yeah.
One of the things that I learned too from being in business, sometimes success can hurt just as much as the lows. Were there things, because for myself, I mean, I literally, when I first started my company, I had this crazy goal. I want X amount, when I get there, I'll be fine. Then it's just this thing that kicks in, and you just pushing, and the success is coming, and you look back and you realize, I forgot about my wife, forgot about my kid. I mean, it just sometimes it can just take over you to the point where you're not as present, and you say you did it for them, but then
they say, I don't remember asking you. Thanks a lot.
Exactly. So how has success been? Has that been?
Yeah, there were definitely some ups and downs in that regard as well. I mean, and you always, we sold a company, so you can have rose-colored glasses looking back. Maybe if we hadn't sold it, we could have done this with it. So there's that component. But there's also just, that first company that I was involved in, it was particularly difficult because I had young children. So that was tough. But I think I managed through that, and
Was able to maintain good relationships, and
yeah,
nothing got lost.
My kids we still talk. Neither one's in prison, so that's good.
Perfect, perfect. Another thing about business that sometimes gets washed over,
Hmm.
the human resources part. How
Yeah.
has dealing with, it's so many personalities when you
Yeah.
start a staff. You need to know who to hire, who to
Yep.
let go, who's dead weight,
Yep.
who's overperforming, and
Absolutely.
like, how's that been?
Yeah. So I've I've always felt really strongly that this is the whole thing.
Mm,
That we were always very, very picky about who we hired, and we would rather go without people than pick the wrong people.
stay lean.
Yeah, and so I'd always been, and in this company, we're really, really fortunate. We have a really tight team. Um, our investors are just great. They're really, uh, people with a lot of integrity, and we've been able to hire really high quality people. So
Mm,
we're still relatively small, and so the way we manage it now here is we have a kind of a core staff, and then a lot of the engineering work is we use contractors that we can add and then let go when the project ends. So you can kind of um, we're set up a little bit that way, so that takes a little bit of stress off. We're not, because people that are coming and going, it's a little less critical
right.
that they be part of the team. But we've had really good luck. We've got a great team, and we've
What do you look at most? Like, let's say you got
yeah.
a couple resumes on the desk, you have a position needs to be filled. What's that thing? How can you tell the difference?
Yeah, I mean, that's hard because there's a lot of reasons why that's hard. The first thing is if you're too, if you try to be too subjective and touchy feely, you can inadvertently be kind of, um, uh, you can end up with people that are just more comfortable to you, right? That's not what you're after. You're
Right.
not after people you're comfortable with. You're after people who are going to do a good job and treat the other people in your company with respect.
Right.
So, I think you just have to take the time to interview, right? To qualify people, and don't, you know, especially so when you're qualifying them, be careful not to be ruling out people who maybe have a slightly non non-conforming resume. Like, they're not exactly what you're looking for on paper. As long as they're kind of in the right
They
ballpark.
have the intellect, they have the skills.
Yeah, they have
They
the
may
intellect.
not have the cookie cutter what you're looking for exactly.
And then I think you're just looking for someone who has a certain level of integrity and is going to bring passion to their work, right? Is going to care about the results of their work. They're not just going to mail it in. I mean, to me, that's a big part of it, because you really want someone who cares about the work, who and they're always going to bring more to the table, right? If they care about it, if they get involved in it, and then there's the intangible, which is how you think they're going to treat other people,
the team,
how they're going to treat the team, right? Are they going to be someone who is going to alienate their coworkers, or are they someone who's going to treat people with respect, and in turn get more out of them, right? Because everyone feels positive when they're at work. So there's kind of those things, and it's not always easy but you can do that by having multiple people interview. So like here we have engineers, but our head of marketing would
be great to sit in.
Would also be part of the interview process. And if we're not sure, we'll do a second interview. We'll kind of go through that.
Feel it out.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting from it, and like as a business owner myself, I think that's the hardest part. Knowing when you need to step out the business for it to grow, because that intangible of sitting down, actually having the interview, because we absorb so much by being deep and entrenched that energy of the person coming in, you can already kind of tell, like, okay, he's very focused here, or she has this, I know she's going to bring a spark to this section that I need, but how do you, is it the same thing when hiring a CEO in a sense, like, or someone who is going to replace you at the end?
Yeah, to be honest, I've never really faced that because I've always been involved in much smaller companies where you don't have the luxury of hiring somebody,
a president, or
you're
you're the guy.
I mean, if you have another person to hire, you're going to hire another salesperson, you're going to hire an engineer. You don't really that normally that kind of succession planning comes when you're a little bit bigger,
to corporate almost.
Yeah, and I tend to be involved much more in smaller companies, smaller startups.
The thing is, small is relative.
Yeah.
It really
especially
is
today. Right? Yeah.
I mean, we can get so much done with tech, and the need for the huge mega corporation is dwindling. Honestly, I mean, we're seeing tons of job cuts. We're seeing the market not need as much. I'm in the commercial space as well. I sell services to commercial buildings, and COVID, I'm swinging that question to you soon. It wiped out a huge portion of the demand for commercial, because the commercial lease owners, the people who needed the commercial space, they saw technology step up in a way during that time where they could send a lot of people home, and the actual productivity, sometimes it even increased, because people aren't sitting in traffic for that hour, and they can get up, hit it hard, and get the work done, and they're off. How did COVID affect you?
Well, I mean, that's an interesting question, because we make
air purifiers,
right? So we've only just now released our first product.
Okay.
Right? So on the one hand, the supply chain issues that COVID brought about definitely delayed our product introduction. So that was a negative. I mean, clearly,
right?
That was a challenge for us. On the other hand, we don't get any questions anymore about why should I, why do I care about breathing clean air? And it's not just COVID. So I think what happened with us is that COVID made people think about air purifiers and air quality.
Definitely.
Right. And then once they started thinking about it, there's a lot more to air quality than just COVID or pathogens.
Right.
There's particulates and PM 2.5. And so now that's really kicking in. We're seeing a whole new level of interest in the whole question of what am I breathing in?
Exactly.
And how do I make sure that the air inside my house or office is healthy?
Right.
And part of that was that, people would start by saying, oh, I have a filter on my HVAC system. And before COVID, people might actually be tempted to think, well, that filter is keeping my air clean.
Right.
But then with COVID, people were taught, well, that's actually doesn't really work. Those filters are there to protect your machine. They're there to protect the coil on your on your HVAC machine.
Right.
It's you're lucky if it's taking out 30% or 40% of the material, the particulates floating around. So actually, COVID in a way just completely changed the environment for our product.
Yeah, the consumer is now so much more well read. They understand how viruses work in a much more rich way.
That's right.
I grew up in science, so
Mm.
I was always keenly aware of what and how viruses moved and how they worked.
Yeah.
And working in the cleaning industry as
Mm.
well,
Oh, that's right.
I'm very on top of
Right.
how is this environment impacted daily, because you need wipe downs, you need,
Right.
there's touch surfaces, touch area, but something we can't do is take care of the air.
That's
That's
right.
something where machines have to take over, and
That's right.
our intellect as humans have evolved in a way where there's these new technologies. So when I come into a space, I'm not as a because how I look at myself, any CEO, any person, we're not just looking at our industry. We're looking at the adjacent industries. How's everything helping this one situation move forward? Because if I work in doctors' offices,
Mm.
let's say I come into doctors, I'm keeping everything clean as much as a person can. But if they're like, people are still kind of getting sick, I'm still seeing sneezing, I still see a lot of dust circulating, boom, I pass them off to Larry.
Right.
Hey, we have some great technology here. Let him sit down and have a meeting with you. What are you telling that person?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, what we're telling people, our message is the the science around the danger to human health of particulate matter is just really becoming understood. So, separate and apart from disease, just particulates. So, in our environment here in DC, it's going to be mostly, from combustion, from cars, from trains, from buses, from power plants. We now are beginning to understand how dangerous that those particulates are. They enter your lungs, they go through your lungs into your bloodstream, they cause all sorts of tremendous uh, health problems. And we didn't always fully understand that. And so we're starting to really understand just how serious that problem is. Um, so inside a home, you've got things like your cook stove, right? Which, recently there was a bunch of information released about the danger of gas stoves,
yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous problem. So, wildfire smoke. So half the country now is dealing with wildfire smoke all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, really, that's the real message, right? The real message is that our bodies aren't really designed to deal well with the really small particles that are released by combustion, and so you want to try to do what you can to limit your intake of them. And on the other hand, HVAC systems are not an really efficient way to do that, right? Because if you put filters on your HVAC, high intensity filters, it uses a lot more energy.
Right. Yeah.
So you have to replace them all the time. It's very expensive. So there's a growing consensus, even in the industry now, that the right way to keep people safe is to have some filters on your HVAC, but then to supplement that with freestanding units, especially in areas where people spend a lot of time or congregate.
Right.
So that would be a bedroom or an office, a living room. So in this office space, for example, here in this conference room, you would put one maybe in the office. Maybe you wouldn't put one in the big common space there.
Right. Maybe it's not a lot of concentrated people. And,
yeah. So that's kind of so we're part of that wave, right? And so our role in that space is that we've developed a way to do it that uses less energy. It's just more energy efficient, and it requires less filter changes. So, there's a lot of different ways you can do it, and we've got a way that we think it's new, and we think it's a better way to do it.
I've seen some of the demos,
Yeah,
and the part that I love the most is charging the particles.
that's right. Yeah,
Please break that for me.
yeah. So basically, there's really it really comes down to the fact that there's two different ways to get particles out of the air.
Mhm.
So the first way is the way, I mean, it's the way people have been doing it since they sat around a fire in the Stone Age. Or you would, you know, if it was smoky, you could put your
Cover over.
yeah, cover over your mouth and breathe through some fabric. So that's the traditional way to do it. It's a mechanical filter. You know, it's called a HEPA filter or a MER filter. And basically, you're pushing the air through a fabric, and that fabric is trapping particles.
Gotcha.
So the positives of that are that it's very simple. The negatives of that is that it takes a lot of energy to push that air through the filter, and as the filter collects dust, it gets harder and harder.
Yeah,
So
no breathability.
That's right. So the filter starts to clog. So you have to change that filter all the time to keep the airflow up. So the other way is called electrostatic filtration, where you run the air past some wires that are emitting ions, and the ions stick to the particles. Now the particles are charged, and now you can pull the particles out of the air by running them between two charged plates. So it uses about half the energy of a mechanical filter. And it doesn't clog because you're not pushing it through a fabric. The particles are getting pulled out of the air. And our big innovation is that instead of pulling it onto traditionally with a filter like ours, you would have to clean the plates off all the time.
Right.
But with ours, you pull it into foam. And instead of cleaning it once a month, you just change that foam out once a year.
Wow.
So, and it's very inexpensive because the foam is made out of melamine. It's like the magic eraser.
Okay.
So it's just like plastic and melamine foam, very inexpensive, and do it once a year. So it's a very simple, elegant solution, which we've patented.
Right. Patent, it came came
right.
full circle here.
That's right. So nobody else can do it. We're the only ones that can. We have worldwide patents, so we have patents all over the world. Yeah.
So I've actually had I've patented a product before, and I'm bringing it to market soon. So I've dealt with a lot of the supply chain things. I have a contracted engineer. You know, I've done the whole, you know, specs for the patent. And if you could give somebody a brief, because what I didn't know, I'll tell you straight up.
Yeah.
The first prototype I did, I patented it, and it wasn't completely flushed out, the idea. So I wasted a ton of money on the front hand, and then as I kept prototyping, we advanced so far past that first prototype that the intellectual property had become, I mean, it wouldn't even keep us safe after a while, because you know, so I had to repatent, and then that's a whole nother fee and everything. So and then saving enough in the budget to actually bring it to market is a whole nother animal, because if you don't have traditional investors, it's a lot harder to you know, go that route. You know, there's the GoFundMe's and things like that can you know, accelerate that. What's the proper way?
So, you know, it's a really interesting question. So I would say the most important thing is to get a really good patent attorney that actually takes the time to understand the business. Because the patent isn't any good on its own. It's only good within a business. So you need to have a patent attorney that actually takes the time to understand how you might be commercializing it, and can tell you, okay, you're not ready yet. You know, so it's not an attorney that's just after a fee, right? Gotcha. So they're going to say, well, you need to do more work, so keep this quiet, don't tell anybody, you know, work
continue
a little,
to perfect it.
continue to perfect it, or no, this is good. This is all you're going to get. I can see where you're going. You might make advances, but that's not going to help your patent any. So let's file now. So I think the art of patent law it's really an art form, and you just need help, right? You can't be expected. There are very few inventors that really understand the art of patent law.
Yeah.
So, really that's what you need. And it's difficult because patent lawyers are notoriously expensive.
Yes. I can attest to that. You know.
But it's
but it's worth it though. If it saves you something down the line, you like the way I've had it put to me is that you get a patent to be able to fight later. It's not necessarily going to stop people from stealing your idea, bringing it to market, but it does give you a chance to fight in court one day. And
I'd say that, patents are good for, I think that's accurate. The other thing is, if you're going to bring in investors, patents help give them confidence. The other issue is it makes it easier to do business with companies that could potentially copy it. Right? So if you're going to sign up a distributor, so let's say you're going to sign up a distributor, and that distributor is a company that makes its own product also. If you don't have a patent, what's to stop them from just distributing your product, getting to know it, and then bringing out its own version?
Ripping it off.
Yeah.
Which is or even normal. Changing maybe one small thing and saying, hey, this is
but
different.
If you don't have a patent, they don't even need to change it.
Exactly.
They can just do it.
Exactly.
Right? You can just copy it.
So there is a need, guys.
I'd say, there's a reason why patent lawyers are expensive. It's because the service they provide is valuable.
Very valuable.
Yeah.
Very
and I'm a big believer in it. I think it's an important part of any product that involves technology, really.
Okay. How about trademarks? Is that something that's...
Yeah, we have trademarks, and those are valuable too.
And that's more branding, you would say?
So that's aligned with your brand strategy. Okay. How you're going to use trademarks, and we use them. We think it's important because if you have a successful product and you haven't managed your trademarks properly, it's easy for people to
kind of align next to you and steal that Google top search.
That's right, become the generic version.
Exactly. Like Uber and Lyft. They do the same thing, but because Uber was first to market, it's hard to kind of like, oh, I'm calling an Uber. Even if you're calling a Lyft, some people still say,
that's right,
I'm getting an Uber, Right. How important is being first to market?
I think it's a lot less important than people think. Now, there's a difference there's certain types of businesses where it's very important. So like a social media type of thing.
Oh, yeah.
Those are putting those aside. But if you're making a product, it's not always great to be first, right? Because other people can just watch what you do, learn from your mistakes, and then come in with a better product and kind of trump you, so to speak. That word's been kind of not sure. I didn't mean it.
No, that's fine.
Surpass.
Yeah, right. But I really see that. In my own situation, my first couple of prototypes, I had that moment where when I looked at it, I could see instantly how somebody could come in and just tweak this, boom, now they have a better product than me overnight, and so I was just like, it's not the time. I shouldn't bring this out. I know I put a lot of money in it, but I'd be a fool at this moment to know there's glaring issues with the product, I try to speak to that a lot, where never rush, because if you rush, it's just in a rush, in a hurry, make a mess every time. That's what my father says. He lives by that. And in business, I've learned the people who rush, they make the mistakes. Right. So then the people who perfect their skill at a high level, they, even if it takes them a while for you to mess up and that contract ends, at some point people are going to look for the person who's going to be consistent, who's going to do the job. They may buy the cheaper product today, but later on, after they keep buying the cheaper product, at some point they're going to invest in who's the guy, who's the real person, who blood, sweat, and tears is in this product.
I think that's a smart philosophy, and so we now in our case, this particular case, it's a whole new technology, and we're the only ones that have it. So we are first because we're going to be the only, we're the only.
Right.
So really, there's no, but so for us, that wasn't really the issue.
So is it a education thing then? Because that's like my product is almost kind of similar to yours. It's completely a new technology. So what I've run into is what you may be running into, where people see the benefit, but they want to kind of, it's like almost the public isn't educated enough to the idea to where they don't know this makes much more sense than how we've been doing it. And until enough people adopt it, the early adopters, and they get to telling people to singing the praises of it, it's a tough road in the beginning.
Yeah, so that's exactly where we are right now. Right, so we've kind of gone through the manufacturing, gone through all of that. We've got our product in the warehouse. We've kind of gotten we've kind of gotten ready to go to market, and that's what we're doing right now. Is we're learning how to communicate the benefits of the product to the customer, how to help a customer understand why they're better off buying our product instead of another one, and that's what we're doing. I mean, we're working on that. We're creating videos. We're testing out different ideas. We're going to be doing a bunch of social media things where we'll, we're trying to find the right kinds of influencers, people who have a trusted audience, right? Who might be able to say, someone who's kind of helped their audience make decisions like this in the past, right? So there's a big role for that, and trying to find the right person who's trying to make this decision at this moment and is willing to listen.
Definitely.
And that's COVID's helped with that. Where I would say 5 years ago.
Next to impossible.
Yeah, if someone wanted a room air purifier, they're just going to go down to Home Depot and buy whatever piece of junk is on the shelf.
Exactly.
Stick it in the corner of the room, turn it on, and that's that. Well, now people are taking the time to learn, to understand what makes one better than the other, and I think they understand that the decision is more important than just,
getting whatever's the cheapest thing.
Yeah. So, but that's our challenge. I mean, we're working on that right now. Trying to understand how to do that.
And I guess that brings me to the biggest thing. Is there any room for innovation? Like, because honestly, the first thing I saw when I saw the technology was I love that there's freestanding, but of course I'm in a different business, so I see another situation. So I see vacuums with this new technology in it. And I see there's so many things that could benefit from not having to change that filter as much, or having the particles charged, and pet dander and all of these different things that are hard to get out the air and make cleaning easier. There's so many industries that can actually be affected by this. Like, can you give us anything on that?
So we're there's the stand, walk, run. You got to do one thing before you do another. But so we've earlier on in the company's history, when we were kind of in our R&D phase, we built lots of different prototypes. We built prototypes and tested them in real world buildings of full HVAC systems. We built prototypes for air exchangers, which just bring fresh air in, for air conditioner type units, for personal units, for an auto unit. Actually, we designed one for that could fit inside, help keep the air inside of an automobile clean.
Oh yeah, that's very
so. Yeah, this has a lot of potential. We're very interested in licensing the technology. We've got a design on a product for a whole home unit, one that kind of works with your home HVAC system.
Gotcha.
So we're looking for a partner for that because we don't want to distribute that ourselves. Our investors are in the commercial HVAC business.
Okay.
So there's a big market there. But that we're going to tackle that kind of in stage 2.
Gotcha.
So the big thing that we're working on now is actually just continuing to make the product line that we have better. And that's the nature of manufacturing. You've got your first model, and we're busy at work designing a second unit, which is a little bit bigger than this unit.
Okay.
But it's got a bunch of advantages. So I think our strategy is to kind of keep the technology moving, but then focus on our commercial product line, and then try to identify some partners that might be able to use the technology in other markets, and then slowly grow.
Wow. And the last final things.
Yeah.
3 things you had to tell somebody. The first thing I would like to ask, if somebody's starting brand new, they want to start in a career, they love products, they want to do something, what's the advice that you give to somebody that's maybe not enough money yet, but they have a dream?
Yeah. So I would say try to get a job in a place where you think people are doing things the right way. That's a difficult thing to learn. How to make intelligent decisions, how to run a meeting, how to communicate with customers, how to do things in a way that maximize your potential for success. And so, for me, that was, when I was my first job out of law school, I went to work for a really well-run law school. I worked in a group that was run by some really top-notch people, and I got to see how people
excellence looks.
Yeah, what does excellence look like? That's a really good way to put it.
Okay.
And I think you have to do that. If you don't know what excellence looks like,
it can get away from you.
Yeah. I don't think people are born with an innate understanding of what it takes to achieve excellence.
No.
Right. So
Definitely.
You have to see it.
And
so that's what I would say.
Now, for the second person, first person, this guy, he's nowhere. But the second person, he's in a rock and a hard place. He has a family, lots are going on. He knows that he's dying at the career he's at, let's say, but there's this itch, this burn. What are you telling that person?
Oh, yeah, that's the hardest one. And honestly, I don't tell that person anything because there's no way to win, right? That is such a difficult decision. I think there's so many examples of people who've done this, chosen A or chosen B, where it's gone well or it's gone disastrously. So I can tell you for myself, I try to ask myself, what's the worst thing that could happen?
Okay.
And can I live with that? And if I can't live with that, I don't do it.
Okay.
You know.
That's good. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So
can you live with making this decision?
Yeah. And that's not being a pessimist.
Right.
Right. That's not saying I know the worst thing is going to happen, but saying if this thing is just, if the whole thing just
blows up
apart,
in your face, yeah.
Right.
Can you live with
what
that?
situation will I be in realistically, and you know, and then can you live with that? And oftentimes the answer to that is no, I can't.
Right.
I mean, there's too many people who will get hurt.
Yeah. So I don't want to stay on that too long,
Yeah.
but I think because I get this a lot, and it's this idea of, can your window be missed?
Absolutely.
It can.
Absolutely.
So take the chance when it's not as do or die.
I mean, you can, you know, there's no guarantees. You know, you can see, you know, an opportunity can open up. If you don't take the chance, something bad might happen, and you say, you know what, I can't live with that, and then that chance disappears, and then in retrospect you can say, oh wow, that would have been something
that could have changed.
I mean, everybody knows people that's happened to.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's the nature, you know, that's the nature of that situation. You can't be assured of anything.
And so the third person. This is the person who is smart, intelligent, but they're in the right place. There's nothing really stopping this person from doing what they need to do. But there's a fear of, am I going to be judged for trying something new that's daring? Any advice to that person?
Yeah, okay, that's the easiest one. Right, that's right. That person just needs to, you know, drink some good tea and forget about that. Right, what other people think, that is the worst reason I can ever imagine for making a decision. Because anybody who's going to think about you like that, they're going to think what they want anyways.
Right.
Right. I mean, there is no, and I was lucky in life. I had parents that were kind of a little counterculture-y, and they never cared what anyone thought of them. My mom was an artist. My father was a professor, but he was kind of an individual. He still isn't. He's still around. And so I just didn't worry about that. And
Gotcha.
and I think that's an easy one to learn not to worry about, as long as you're honest with yourself and you know that that's what's happening. You can control. You can learn to get past that.
Get past that fear.
Yeah, that one. You know, that one you can.
Easy one.
Yeah, yeah. People's opinions don't matter at all.
No.
Yeah, and that's not any good reason to pass up a great opportunity.
No problem.
Yeah.
So this has been a beautiful conversation.
Yeah.
I thank you for taking the time out to explaining to my audience a deep dive in an illustrious career. We wish you the best with everything going on in the future. This is Business Casual. I'm your host, Miles Brown, and today we had Larry Rothenberg with us from Agentis Air. And go check him out. The link will be in the description. Until next time, peace. Hey, Business Casual listeners. I've been using the Brio air purifier for a little under a month, and I'm highly impressed with the performance. It has drastically improved my indoor air quality, and its patent advanced particle removal technology is second to none. It's also incredibly convenient to use and maintain, making it an ideal choice for anyone looking to improve their home air quality. I've noticed a few cool things so far. You can feel the air becoming clean. It dries out the air a bit, so using this with a humidifier would be ideal for those who like to retain some moisture in the air. My ceiling fans, where I use Brio most often, has less dust buildup. Some need to know starter info. When I first plugged the Brio in and let it run, it had a strong plastic smell due to high heat injection molding residue. Wiping the Brio down with soap, water, and a microfiber cloth, then allowing it time to fully dry, helped significantly. A surprise use case I did not expect was when my wife was cooking and the salmon got away from her, and the smoke in the house started to fill the kitchen. I quickly grabbed a towel and began to fan the smoke from the smoke detector, not to wake up my sleeping 6-month baby. I realized this would be an excellent job for Brio. I grabbed it from the living room and plugged it into the kitchen, making the job of not setting the smoke detector off a breeze. In just 2 weeks, it helped my air quality and dust accumulation, and helped stop my baby from waking up. Do you even have to ask? Yes, I recommend the Brio. As a special offer for my listeners, use code MILES, MYLES 15 to get 15% off the Brio. And let me know what you think about this incredible machine in the comments. Peace.